Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, and I'm the Pulpwood Queen, and I'm reporting live from my little cabin in the woods here in East Texas. And it stormed all this week. This morning, it was lightning, and I thought, oh gosh, if we do have any internet problems, if I go off this, just stay on board, just keep talking, and I'll get back on. It's you just never know about being in the woods. But we're here tonight with a wonderful author, and she is not at home, but Patti Meredith is it pronounced
Galac,
Galac,
Galac, yeah.
North Carolina, and she's got a wonderful new book called South of Heaven. It's a novel, and can you see this emu on the cover? It's just so arresting that I've have it. What I do is I put the author of the week up on my mantle so I can look at it all week. But it's a great story. But before I get into the gist of our interview, I just want to read a couple of things about Patti. Patti, she's from Virginia. Um, most of her stories are set in the beloved Blue Ridge Mountains. And if you've ever been there, it's just absolutely gorgeous. The sand hills where family roots run deep. I grew up in the Flint Hills of Kansas, so I totally understand that. So it's beautiful. I know the Blue Ridge Mountains are beautiful. You graduated from Virginia Tech with a degree in horticulture, which is fascinating. She was fortunate to cultivate a career in television production and marketing, which we'll be talking about that. You hold an MFA in creative writing from the University of Memphis. Her stories have appeared in Appalachia Heritage, Still, The Journal, and Mulberry Fork Review. So you have lived in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, and Louisiana. I'd say you're a Southern girl. And I just met Patty's husband, Lee, here a few minutes ago, and I haven't seen her Springer Spaniel, Maggie, but they're now in Chapel Hill, where a lot of our authors are, including I used to rep for Algonquin of Chapel Hill. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
published. So we have your book, and just to give you a little bit of background before we go into this, South of Heaven is set in North Carolina in 1998, the 90s, and it tells the story of two estranged sisters forced back under the same leaky roof, just as their secrets become front page news. Well, if that doesn't make you want to read the book, I don't know what would. Miscommunications and slights, real and imagined, threaten to keep Fern and Leona divided, but the inexplicable bond of family, a widowed preacher in search of his own lost faith, and an unlikely business venture deliver rescue. South of Heaven is a testament to second chances and unexpected consequences. And it is the perfect book club pick. I am so excited to talk about it with you. Uh, what I look for when I pick books is a story that's discussable. And I was telling her earlier, I've never had an emu on the cover, but look at that eye. That is fantastic. Tell everybody a little bit about your cover because I think it's fascinating your process.
Okay. Well, in the book, one of the sisters' sons, Dean, he's in his 20s, and Dean just has this burning desire to be his own boss. He wants to do his own thing. He wants to prove himself. And I don't know if y'all remember back in the 90s, back in the late 90s, people were talking about emu farming. That was going to be the
Oh,
new
yeah. How
thing.
healthy the meat
It was
was.
going to take
Yeah.
over of beef and pork. It's just going to be the new thing. And so Dean gets it in his head that he's going to start an emu farm. And so he does. But I will tell you that no emu are harmed in this book.
Have you
No,
had an emu burger before?
no. But
Well,
so I knew that, and it's funny because Kathy and I were talking about Ron Rash before. And so I sent, my friend Darnell Arnott, I was thinking of a tobacco barn and all this stuff. And she says, that looks like a Ron Rash cover, and your book's not a Ron Rash book. And I'm like, okay. And she says, you got to put an emu on the cover. So I went online to those places where you can find photographs of anything, and you pay like $30, And so I found this picture of an emu, and then I took my phone and put it in the watercolor app and made him watercolory. And then Darnell and her friend and another friend of mine didn't love it. He said, you need to push that emu over and just show the one eye. And I'm like, okay. So all this was happening, and my husband was sitting at the computer, and I was telling him what to do, and he was doing it. And so we came up with the cover that way, and we sent it to Scott at Main Street Rag, Scott Douglas. I don't know if y'all know him, but he would be a great interview. and he just sent like one line email. He's like, okay. You know? But so it's a do-it-yourself thing, and with the small press, you do have more input. The pros and cons. With a small press, you're it, and all. But there's good things to that. But I really do love the cover, and I have bookmarks. I had bookmarks made too, and they've been popular, and so it's been fun. And I'm at my sister's house, and I have an emu puppet, and I forgot my emu puppet. So
I love puppets. I used to do story time for kids. I love puppets.
I'll take a picture and send it to you for the website, because he's really cute.
Oh, is it made by Folk Manus?
I don't know. I got him on Etsy.
Yeah, I love it. I love puppets. I have a lot of them myself. My cats are kind of freaked out every time I get the puppet. But that's so cool. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but my internet went off for a second, and there's not a cloud in the sky. Who knows? So if I went off, but I just got right back on, and it's being recorded. So we may have a little glitch in there, but keep going. Whatever. I'm going to read real quick too. Darnell, who is a Pulpwood Queen author from a long time ago, we were talking about, it was Lynn York and Pam Houston. I met him the first time at Southern Festival for the books, but Darnell's a poet, and she's wonderful. But she wrote a quote, which I want to share. It says, when an impeccable ear for dialogue, an artist's eye for detail, and deep understanding of the push and pull of family, Meredith gives us South of Heaven, a celebration of growth and survival when confronted by mistakes and denial, and ultimately how people can be transformed by acceptance and the astonishing surprises we should be all looking for. Thank you, Darnell, and be sure and tell her hi for me. But you've got lots of quotes, and I'm sure they're up on your website, which is pattymeredith.com. So anyway, we're excited. So this book is this your first book?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, how did that go? I want to, a lot of first book authors want to know, how did you do it? How did you do it?
Okay, so I started working on this book like 20 years ago. I was at Hyman Settlement School in Appalachia, and I had to read one night. You have to read with those workshops. You get up and you read for everybody. And the story that I had taken up there to read was, I thought it was pretty good, but the writer Lee Smith.
Oh yeah, I pick Lee's books too. She was an Algonquin author. Yeah,
she was one of the instructors, and so she had gone through my manuscript that I was planning to read, and she had written in the margin, "This is just odd." So different. I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't read that. And so I had this other thing in my head, and I had this character Dean that I had been thinking about. And I had this scene where Dean is in the bamboo playing as a child, pretending that he's looking for his father who was lost in Vietnam. So I knew that I had this child whose father was missing in action in Vietnam. I knew that it was I recognized the bamboo from my grandmother's backyard. But anyway, so I started writing the book then, and it took me all this time to get it written. And I had chapters. I wrote it in first person. I wrote it in third person present, third person past. I got my MFA at Memphis. It was my thesis. It still wasn't right after that. We moved again. My husband was in commercial television. We moved 7 times in 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
When you're moving like that, you kind of like, you get distracted. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but I am making excuses. But this story stayed with me. Fern and Leona, these characters would not leave me alone. And I wrote other things in that time, stories and all, but they wouldn't leave me alone. And I do not believe if it hadn't been for the pandemic, I would not have finished this book.
Really? That's
I had it. I was working on it. Lee was retired. We were in North Carolina. Things were calm, and I was working on on the regular. But when the pandemic hit, Scott Douglas with Main Street Rag put out I saw a Facebook post that Main Street Rag was looking for novel submissions, send 50 pages. And so I thought, what have I got to lose? And I did. And he sent an email back and said he was interested. And when he said that, and things had shut down, there was no, so you couldn't go to the mall with people. You couldn't go to lunch. You couldn't, go to the fabric store with your best friend. You just couldn't do anything. And so it really helped me focus, and not just the going, but everything shut down. And I think it gave my head time to clear to keep the story in my head that needed. And I don't think, like, for 20 years, 25 years or whatever, I don't think I ever realized just how much downtime I needed to finish this book. And people are different. I mean, I know people that have like 10 children and they write 5 minutes in the morning and they get books written, and that's great. But for me, it really took the downtime, the head clearing, and that focus. And really, I mean, knowing Scott was interested and it was a possibility, was really frightening. And also, the other thing is, I don't think I could have done it any sooner than when I was 60, in my 60s, because I don't think I would have had the confidence. But you hit 60 and you're like, oh, whatever,
Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to be
Like,
67 this summer. I know. I
yeah.
feel like I'm just getting started.
Yeah, I mean, I think before, like even in my 40s and 50s, I was like, well, I should know. Maybe I'll just do this. Maybe I'll turn it into this. And that the age thing really focused me. And and then I had good friends like Laurel, who's an editor, who I knew that would save me from my terrible grammar. That, I mean, like, I don't know what you're supposed to do with commas. I have no idea. I can read those rules forever and I still don't understand what the heck they're talking about. So it was good to have that safety net of Laurel. So it's the small presses are amazing, and there's so many ways to get your book out there now. And I sent it off for years to agents and all that kind of thing, and I came close once, but nothing, and then I'd send it again, and then nothing, and so it happens. Like, and I love that my North Carolina story was published by a North Carolina press.
Yeah.
And Scott's been great, and it's there are pros and cons. I'm not on Ingram. This book is not, you can't order this book on Ingram. Like, the bookstores can't order this book because Scott, he can't afford to send books to Ingram. It's like that, it's that small.
Oh, but there is a way to do that, because it only costs $49.95 to get your book onto Ingram. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes,
we need to talk.
Catherine Casey.
Oh my God, I've been bamboozled.
Yeah, you can do it, and you want to go through Ingram, because then they put it on Amazon. Amazon costs you nothing,
and
so
I put it on Amazon.
Yeah, so you might want to check that out. And Ingram Spark, it was $49, maybe it's $59.95, but they put it on there.
Actually, Ingram Spark is where you need to go, and it's free.
Right.
It's free. They changed. That's right. They updated their systems. You're right, Sarah. And now it's free to upload your book.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Free. We got to get you on there because you need distribution.
Okay, I got to go.
Well, that's why these book club meetings are so important, because sharing our process we all learn from each other. And Andrew, who and Sarah, they've
Thank
done
you.
lots of books, and Andrew just finished a 5-book series that took her 20
Oh.
years. And
Oh, wow.
I'll have
That's
to tell you about her
wonderful.
rejections when we get to the discussion time.
Oh,
Right
please.
now, you got the book published by, I like the name of Main Street Rag. Now that is out of where in Carolina?
In Charlotte or Mint
Charlotte.
Hill. Mint Hill, yeah. And he publishes mostly poetry, but he does a novel, like a novel or two a year. And it really has been great. I mean, I can't thank him enough for making it happen. But
Well, we need to get you to Girlfriend Weekend so you can meet all my book clubs, because they're all going to want you to come and talk to them, and you know, and you've got so many. Beaufort, South Carolina is one of my biggest chapters now.
oh God, that's a
It's like, I
wonderful
don't know,
place.
I think about 35, 50 members or so. So we're
Oh.
all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. And there's so many bookstores, you know, that you can go
Yeah.
to. Want to get in the independent bookstores.
Yes,
Because,
yeah.
and I used to own an independent bookstore, and unfortunately, I had to sell it during my divorce. So I understand what
Mhm.
that's like too.
Yeah.
So, but your book is great for a first book. I'm totally impressed. And I'm really impressed. Did you do all the marketing, or who helped
I
you with all that?
did. And that goes back to that was my job. And when I was working like in television, I was an advertising manager, promotion and marketing. So that kind of came in hand. That helped. That came in
Well,
hand.
you'd be surprised. Most people, when I go to get their picture of their, if they don't send me the JPEGs of their book cover or their bio or their author photo, I'll go to their Facebook page. You'd be surprised how many authors do not have a downloadable cover of their book on their, they should have one file just on book covers so that people
Yes.
can put them on flyers and advertisements. But I'm telling everybody out there, if you do not have your book up on Facebook or up on your, you know, where we can download it to show we're going to interview you, but you were there. Though the beautiful one with the farmhouse, you know, I couldn't download
Yeah.
that one for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. And I love Canva. I'm a total, oh my God, I'm addicted. I could stay on Canva all day and just do stuff.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a technology person. I am a marketing person, but
Yeah.
when it comes to that, and I'm learning because with my art, I have my own art website and I'm working on that
Yes.
and stuff. So your book, so how did this story came about? You had it in your mind. You've been working on and off for 20 years now. Is Fern because of your horticulture background? Is that why you use the name
I
Fern?
don't know. I have no idea where that
Very
name came
old fashioned name.
It is, and
Leona.
that's important because she's so stuck in the past that I wanted her to have kind of that feel, but I think I just like that name. And I knew from Dean's voice, his voice came to me very clearly, just like it, very real. And I knew that his mother was not I knew that there was something going on. And I knew that Dean had problems, and I knew that he struggled. And you know, and sisters, I mean, my sister's my best friend. She's downstairs. You know, it's
Yeah.
like sisters are a very special relationship.
Now,
And
do all your sisters' names end with an I?
no,
Because I have two sisters, it's Kathy,
yeah.
Karen, and Carol, but with a Y.
Oh, I love that. That's
Kathy,
great.
Karen, and Carol, and it was real, and you know, we're all KLMs too. So,
Yes, that's
but you know,
great.
Patty, I knew you had to be close because Patty, Debbie, Becky, that's 50s kids, you know.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
56, yeah.
Yes. So I knew there were going to be sisters involved in this. And my mother was a sister, you know, she had another, you know, just the two of them. And so that kind of came natural. And the 1998, I don't know.
What happened? Why did
I
you
think it was because I knew that I wanted Fern's husband, Mac, to be missing in the Vietnam War. So I didn't want it to be so far away from the war, you know. So I chose 1998. And then it hit me that was the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky year. And my book is a lot about is that the truth? Well, kind of, not really, And so I had that kind of thing. And when Fern, and she works at a small newspaper, and she's thinking about the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky thing. And she has great compassion for Monica because she knows what that's like, because she made a mistake when she was very young. And it became, everybody knew. And so she kind of has this affinity for that. And so that worked. But when I wrote the book, it's like, you don't think of 1998 as being historical fiction. It's just 1998, but I was having to think, did we have fax machines? Did we have cell phones? What did we do? It's funny how you forget that
I
quick.
don't think we had cell phones in
No,
98.
no. And in the book, only one man, Doyle, has a kind of a big cell phone, but he just moved from Charlotte, so that explains that.
Oh,
But
I was living in a bed and breakfast. I ran a bed and breakfast, and I had
oh,
rotary dial phone in my kitchen in the 40s, a black phone with still
I love that.
the dial, and it worked great. And
That
my
would
cell
be great.
never works great. So I miss typewriters. I miss rotary phones. I miss the things that worked,
Yeah.
records. I have a record
Yeah.
player. I am so old school. I'm so old school. So I figured you were probably around my age. So this book actually came out. What month did it come out?
Last April.
Last April.
April.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you had any book signings since was still kind of
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I have my neighborhood bookstore is McIntyre's in Chapel Hill or in Pittsburgh, close by, and so we had a wonderful reading there. And I've been very fortunate. I just came from this past weekend. I did a reading in Sylva, North Carolina, at City Lights bookstore, and that was a joy.
Yeah, there's a lot of really great ones up and down the coast too. That you
But
can.
book clubs are my favorite. I like book
Oh
clubs.
well, listen, we got book clubs. And they're all up and down that. I've got them in Charleston and in Somerville and all up and down Hilton Head, all that area. So, and lots in Florida. So,
Oh, wow.
all the more reasons. It seems like, though, that the book clubs that have joined my book club, most of them aren't in big cities. They're in little towns, because what makes our book club unique is that we give them access to the authors.
Yes.
And they can go to the church or garden club or whatever, and they say, oh, well, I was at book club the other night. I was talking to Patti, Frye Meredith. I was talking to her about her book, and and asked her this question, and it gives them a little notoriety. And I'm from a little bitty town in Kansas, Eureka, and when I go back there, and they go, oh, you were always talking to these authors, and I go, you guys, they're just like us. They're just like us.
Yeah.
They're just storytellers. They're born
And I
storytellers.
still get starstruck. I mean,
Oh.
I went Daniel Wallace.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to talk about his book tonight.
Oh my God. I went to one of his readings at McIntyre's not long ago. And I mean, when I went to get him to sign my book, I was just like,
I think one of the biggest thrills of my life was
like a nut.
I was at Bookmarks, your book festival, and I was introducing the poet laureate. And then it was Daniel Wallace was up, and I raised my hand. He goes, yes, Kathy. I was like, oh my God, he knew who I was. But Big Fish was one of my favorite books of all time. And it won our Algonquin's publisher rep book of the year. And so,
wow.
I just got his new book, and it's fantastic. I'm trying to get him to come to Girlfriend Weekend. So
it's so good. It is so good. But yeah, I get totally starstruck with real writers, but I love book clubs. I was at a book club in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it was great. They had fixed food that kind of went with the book, and everything. And so we settled down to talk about the book, and this woman looked at me and she said, that Fern was a real slut.
Don't you love how readers are so no filters? No
Right.
filter.
And it was like we were talking about a neighbor down the street. It was like we were sitting around gossiping about people that, that they knew. And it was just wonderful because it made my characters,
Come
they're
along.
so real to me. They're so real people to me. And hearing these people talk about them like they were real people was just the most wonderful thing in the world. And I go to a lot of very, very small town library book clubs. And that's been a joy. The libraries, I have this amazing appreciation for libraries and their book clubs, but hearing people talk about your people, your imaginary people, like you feel about them, is really makes everything worth it.
Well, you think about it. We've invested hours of our life into reading the stories.
Yeah,
And it's always half the time I get so sad when a book is over because it's like, I don't want to let those characters go.
I know.
I've been reading Covenant of Water by
Oh, I
Abraham.
am too. Yes.
I'm almost done and I've been reading it so slow. I don't want it to
You
end.
don't want
It's
it to end.
724 pages.
Yeah, I'm only halfway through it, and I just absolutely I loved what was the first book? It wasn't Cutting for Stone. It was
Cutting for Stone was last, and it's been 14 years.
yeah.
And
I
he
can't
did The
remember.
Country Doctor.
Yes, that one, because it was set in Bristol, or it was not set. I mean, it was kind of a
Yeah.
memoir, and I fell in love with him then, and I was so excited about this new one. So yeah.
He's going to be on our list this year. He's going to be.
Good. That's
I've
very
got some really. I mean, I have to say that the books that I've gotten the last 2 years have been the best. 24 years. I've been reading a lot of books, and that's just 24 years I've been running this book club. I've been in the book business way longer than that because I
Oh
started
my
out as a bookseller. So we're thrilled about that. This is your first book, and we hope that we can make some connections with all of you. And the wonderful thing about Girlfriend Weekend is we have a Friday night meet and greet, and authors connect and become friends for life and mentors, or you go on tour together. River Jordan and Shelley Rushing Tomlinson went on a
Oh,
book and a wing trip together. I
wow.
just love that when that happens. And
Yeah,
so I'm very excited for you. And
thank you.
we don't like to give away any of the plot lines and everything, but this is definitely a Southern story.
Yes.
And you've got your own unique voice. Tell us about where this voice comes from.
I don't know where Dean comes from, and I had some pushback from his voice because he doesn't use perfect grammar, and
No.
he's just talks like he talks, and I like it when I got my MFA, I did have some pushback about, well, that it just sounds too old fashioned, and I'm thinking, honey, you need to come home with me.
Honey, you need to come to Kansas because half the stuff
You
I
need to
say,
come talk to
go,
my family.
what do you mean by hope to shout? I mean, what is that?
Right. But
go,
his
I don't-
voice came to me really clearly. Leona was a hard voice because in the story, Fern has stayed in the small town, and her sister Leona has gone and she married a surgeon and has this kind of a fancy life in Raleigh, North Carolina. And when I realized at a point that Leona, she was really a stereotype the way I'd written her. But the problem was she wanted to be a stereotype. I mean, Leona was trying really hard to be a stereotype. And so, she's kind of got this elevated language and all. So that kind of differentiated her from Fern, who's like not gonna do that. But Leona, I think this won't hurt anything. Leona's the oldest, and their parents, Leona and Fern's parents, were a mess. They were alcoholics, and they were just a mess. And Leona really, really raised her sister and her brother. And when I realized what Leona had been through as a child, as far as having to parent, be the one who made sure they had food, who made sure they went to school, who made, protected them, she became more of a real person. and you understood why she was trying so hard to have the life that she has. And so that's when she kind of moved away from just being flat. But so that was the language. And you know, I guess I talk like Fern. So it's like
Where do you fall in your sister? Are you the oldest or youngest?
I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest. But oh yeah, yeah. But there's
So-
nothing. I mean, my sister and I went out today just to the grocery store and around and laughed. And it's like nobody laughs at the stuff your sister laughs.
No, it's so true. 'Cause
It's so wonderful.
I'll laugh at stupid stuff.
Oh God.
It's
Oh,
just, they
yeah,
don't, it's shared histories.
it
you know,
is. It
shared
is. Yeah.
histories. You get the humor, and we're big movie people in my family. I
Oh,
run a book in film clubs, and we always have movie references
oh
and
yeah.
to act them out. So we we'll just break out into sisters,
Yeah.
sisters, the
Yeah.
iconic sisters. And people just look at us like,
What?
hey, and they go, so does all your family dress up? And I go, well, here's my sister dressed up as a honeybee. What do you think?
Oh
And they
my
go, oh my
God.
God. So yeah, and we had a speech and drama mother. She was a speech
That's
and drama.
great though.
So, but it is these stories that connect us all, and we have differences, but we also, everybody has quirky family stories,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember who first said it, but they said, in the South, the difference between us and normal people is that we put our crazies out on the front porch so everybody can see them, where
Yes.
everybody else has to hide them in the attic or something.
Right. We use it as material.
Oh, yeah, I'm working on a book that's going to have all those characters from my hometown that were.
Okay, good. That was going to be one of my questions to you.
Mhm.
Are you writing? Okay, good.
Oh yeah, I wrote my memoir. Then I had we did a 20th anniversary book that was all my Pulpwood Queens and authors wrote stories about the years that we've been reading. Some of them were book club members and some of them were writers. And then I'm working on the sequel to my memoir called The Pulpwood Queen Goes Back to School, because when I went through my divorce after 25 years of marriage, and then my father died, I just thought, oh God, this is it. I'm old. Nobody's going to want me. And I have no job because I had to sell my bookstore.
Okay.
I left with my car and the clothes on my back. And I thought, I'm going to write my own story.
Yeah.
And so I drove over on my birthday, which is always August 27th. And I told the University of Texas I was going to start school the next day. That guy looked at me like I was out of my mind. I said,
Oh my gosh.
listen, bud, he was a kid. I said,
Yeah.
after I tell you my story, you're going to get me in school. And I was in 8 o'clock class the next day.
Oh, that is so great. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. It needs
So
to
I'm
be
going to tell that story because I
good.
literally went back to school, but then this time, which also included COVID, I think we all have had to do some inner self check.
Yes.
Self-care and self-awareness, and find out. And I tell everybody out there, if you don't, no matter what kind of writer you are, write your own story, whether it gets published or not, because then you find out who you are
It's the truth.
and what you believe in,
Yes.
what you really believe in. And I was kind of surprised. People think that I'm so outrageous, but I'm really, when it comes to, life, I'm really there's the doggy.
There's the dog.
Oh, and what's the
Funny.
dog's name?
Maggie. And I'm
Maggie.
sorry, but this is just kind of the way we live.
Well,
It's just kind of
I have 3 cats. One's banging at the door, but they're not getting in.
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so we share our stories, and everybody here, every week we share our stories, and authors come on board. So come back. The more you come back, the more you learn, and the process. So you wrote this, it took you 20 years. It was, these characters are alive. We've all heard these stories. I'm going to open this up for discussion now, because we have a lot of authors here, and every author always has. Sarah's in front of me right now. I see her eyes lighting up. Sarah, do you have any question or comment about her book, South of Heaven?
Well, I'm, excuse me, my throat's kind of funny today. I'm about halfway through it. I'm just loving it. The
Thank
voice,
you.
wonderful. And I was so surprised to read that it's the first novel, that it's very
No,
accomplished. The voice, it reminds me weirdly of my own Lindsay character in my recent novel, Pause.
Okay.
And
Sarah's one of
Yeah.
ours too. Sarah Sami, she's from the Pacific Northwest and she just finished building a home.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
well, sort of opposite corner of the country. My dad was from Georgia, so I get that.
okay. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
character's so down to earth and like, I'm not going to do this female glamour BS, stuff. So I really like Fern, but
Good.
my comment to you, I guess, is that I really enjoy the fact that you have scenes versus a whole bunch of summary. And I know
Okay.
it's very popular with a lot of people, but how do you manage that balance?
I don't know how to do the summary. If I could do the summary, I'd do it. I mean, I struggle with that. And
Did you do book reports in school?
not
did you-
very well. Not very
Oh, I would write the whole book when I was in the 3rd grade on the front and the back of a 3x5 index card. And my teacher would go, no, you're supposed to do
No.
a summary in 1 or 2 sentences.
I'm
I think I'm
terrible.
really Southern because
Yeah,
no
yeah.
Southern person that's a storyteller can tell a story in 2 sentences.
No.
I mean, no,
and
we have to go
are,
all the way back with family history. And
yes. Oh,
you
yeah.
remember her daddy was the, town drunk. I mean, you
Right.
so
I want to be able to do, and I did the 3 characters, the 3 people voice, 3 voices. And so it's written, some chapters are Fern, some are Leon, and some chapters are Dean's. And it's very, very close third person, to get the differentiation of the voices. And I think that was another way of me avoiding having to do the writing but I'm still trying to learn how to do that summary and to do more narrative. I have kind of like a mental block about when I'm writing. Sometimes it's like, who's talking? Who is this? Who is this narrator? It's like, who is
do you
this?
do little synopsises of each person's personality, what they look like, and their interest?
Oh, I hate doing that. But and Darnell she's like, you've got to, write down 100 things they have in their hat, do the 100 questions. And I fight it and I fight it. But then when I finally do it, you find out the most interesting things, like what's in their pocket, what's in their dresser, what's, that's how I found out she had those earrings that Matt gave her for Christmas. But the scenes are, I think that is where the emotion can come in the scenes.
Yes.
And the interaction between the characters. And so, and I think that when you're writing, like, I don't know how y'all do it, but like if something comes to me, I write it. I mean, I don't try to go linear, it's like, isn't it like, do y'all find that it's like a battle between the left and the right brain all the time? Like you have left brain days and you have right brain days. There's some days that I can, the dialogue and the scene and all that's happening. And the next day you think, okay, how is this going to fit? Or how am I going to transition this? Or those kind of things. But I appreciate what you're saying. And I think I'm working on the other. I wish I could do the other, but
Well, it seems to me that you did handle the balance really well, because you'll give these little backstory, like Fern thinks about her husband and the whole Vietnam thing, and then
yeah.
summarize a brief passage really well, but you don't get stuck in that. So just keep it up.
Thank you.
If it
Yeah,
isn't
doing the backstory was the flashbacks or the back, what do you call it? Flashbacks, or I'm having a
Backstory.
mental time, but I worried about that dragging people back, but I needed to tell it and I couldn't do that chronologically. So, but I did feel like, I thought my flashbacks were better than my non-flashbacks. And isn't it crazy? It's so crazy. I don't know, but it's like you just do the best you can. and there's so many writers I admire, and I think, wow, I want to do that.
Well, the more you read, the better you become as a writer. So who else has a comment or question and wants to jump in?
You. I've got something.
Okay.
Patty, as you know, I absolutely adore this novel, and I adore all the characters, every single one of them. And the novel moved me so much. The stories, how the characters deal with the huge issues that they deal with at the same time that they're being like regular people in the community and in the family. And some of the moments of redemption or healing touched me so deeply. I think I already told you this. I don't usually cry when I'm editing something. But man,
Cry.
I went through an entire box of Kleenex when I was editing your novel, and I kept having to reread things because I was too deeply embedded in my own feelings, but just gorgeous. And what I'm wondering is, did you have these sorts of moments in mind? Did you want something that would be emotionally cathartic when you started out, or did that come later?
It came, I think that first scene kind of got me, because I felt Dean's pain at losing his father and how much he missed him. And then very soon after that scene, I wrote the part where he goes up and sits on his father's memorial bench and talks to his father and hears his father. And, I believe that Dean really does hear Mac talk, and Mac is really talking to him. And so I knew that happened. I also knew that church scene was going to happen, where Dean stands up and says what he says. And
God, that really got me.
yeah, and I think okay, so this is like just between us, right? Where it's just
Right.
okay.
And everybody on my YouTube channel, go ahead.
Well, those people, yeah. I mean, I'm a very wide open liberal person. I'm not like a whatever. But when I was little, I really wanted to be a preacher. And
Oh,
I mean, I used to line my dolls up and preach. I mean, I just wanted to be a preacher, and I had this little briefcase, and I had my sermons in there and my everything. And so having a preacher, having Roy in this book just gave me, I just loved, I felt like I had my own church. It was great. So I knew that there was some feeling with Roy. I knew he was a widow, so I knew that was going to happen. Again, Leona surprised me. When she has lunch with one of her daughter, it's like, and she and her husband, I kind of just want to tell everybody everything, but it's like Leona surprised me when she realized that her daughter did not respect her father like she should, and that he had been a great father to her. And when Leona rose up and did that, I think I cried. So she surprised me. But those moments, I don't know, it was the characters. It was just the characters, just the way they acted and what happened. And the scene where Fern and Roy have an argument, that got me. And and I'm a big crier, so there's that. But
I know the feeling.
that's
but,
okay.
yeah, I think you get the right people in the room and you're in the scene. If you get the right people in the scene, those things are going to happen. And let them be vulnerable, and let them be open, and let the truth come out.
It's great. I know. I love it when the characters tell me who they are and what they want and how they want to be.
It's them.
It's a wonderful thing, and something I'd ever believed in until I became a writer myself.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's true for you, that the characters actually tell you what they
They're
want?
still telling me. They're trying to tell me what they want what they're doing now. I'm writing scenes about what they're doing now, they're still hanging. And I'm all right with that, it's like, all right, that's good. I'll let you know. Because I think there's some loose ends. I think that there's some things, I did have some criticism that things got tied up a little too easily. Like Doyle is an alcoholic, and it's like people don't just quit drinking. It's not like, I mean, sometimes it is, but most of the time it's kind of more of a process. So I think he falls off the wagon. So, I'm still writing scenes with him. I don't know if I'm going to do anything else because I don't think I'm going to live 66 more years.
It won't take you as long next time, I guarantee you.
Oh
It
my
never,
God.
never does. Anybody else
no.
want to jump in?
I had a question. So
Thanks.
congratulations on your book. This is amazing.
Thank you.
And I was, just listening to you talk about the fact that you were thinking about this book for 20 years, traveled to 7 different locations and never wrote anything down. How did you keep the story going and not lose the momentum? Because that's really hard to do, to just keep it all in your head.
And I did write it down. I did write it down. I'd have little spurts. I'd have spurts of like, and in my computer, oh my God, if you could see the South of Heaven, and before it was even called South of Heaven, da 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 da, the years and the changes. And then because I would write scenes, and I would, I would have not written anything like in weeks, and then something would hit me like, oh, Doyle's gonna, yeah, and so I would write that down. It was a nightmare to find all that and put it together. The doing it as my thesis, having to do it as my thesis when we lived in Memphis. I went back to school. We met in Chattanooga. We moved to Chapel Hill, to Durham, North Carolina. Then we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. Then we moved to Columbia, South Carolina. Then we moved to Huntsville, Alabama. And then we moved to Memphis. And then we moved to Baton Rouge. And when I was living in Memphis, I went back to school and got an MFA. And that is when things that was a great thing because of deadlines and the thesis. And that's when I had to pull it together. But at that point, it was in first person in 3 different voices. And so, but writing it in first, having a version of it in first person was very helpful because I really got the voices of the characters and got their personalities. And it wasn't, I don't know, there was a lot that wasn't in that thing, but but the 3 years I was in Memphis, that was good time, and kind of an intense time with it. But that was the weird, and I'm not like a finisher. I mean, I don't have bulbs, my bulbs are in the garage rotten, I order stuff, I don't plan it. I mean, it's like, but these characters would not leave me alone. They would not leave me, and the story wouldn't leave me. And I think I wrote this in the blog. I love hanging out with writers so much that I just kept going to workshops and stuff because I just wanted to be with the people. So I was kind of faking it. Like, yeah,
There you go.
yeah, all right, because I just want to be here. I want to be at Table Rock with Laurel and that kind of thing. So so that community held me together too. And then they'd say, well, are you working? Are you working? Are you doing it? And it's like, yeah, sort of, maybe. So I had a lot of accountability, but that was it. But I wish, I don't know, I could have done it sooner. I can say I have regrets about not doing it earlier, but it wouldn't have been the same. But I did write in spurts through that time, and then just kept folder after folder in my computer of South of Heaven. I'm sorry, it's potential spam. Anyway, that's how that happened.
Thank you. That makes us all feel much better. Because
Good.
I don't think any of us have a normal process, or is there a normal
No.
process?
No, but at Georgianne Eubanks, in that first workshop I took, she wrote on the big whiteboard, discipline is remembering what you want. And it's like, I always knew I really wanted to. And so who's that? That's my sister. Come in here. Come in.
Hi, come on
This is my
in.
sister.
I've
I've already told him,
so much
this is
fun.
not Leona.
No.
This is Leona. No, this is not Leona. She is not Leona. But
Okay.
I had my sister doing that thing too. Like, are you going to finish this? You need to finish this. You need to do this. And so I always wanted to finish it. And so finally I did. But
Yeah.
I hope that inspire. I hope just don't give up. Right?
Right, and now I'm honored to finish number 2.
Well, now that we've got your sister here, maybe she can tell us a little bit about you growing up. What was your sister like growing up? Was she a writer then?
She was afraid of everything. My sister,
Oh my gosh.
and to be so outgoing and friendly and fun. And when she was little, bless her heart, she really was. She was afraid of everything and very quiet. But Patty's always been a writer of sorts, don't you think you
Mhm.
have?
And me being scared of everything had nothing to do with the fact that Annelle used to lay on the bed and pretend she was dead. And when I turned around, she'd jump up and scare me. So,
I was her best babysitter.
Oh my goodness.
that didn't,
She slept with me until I went to college, I
I
think.
did.
She
My
did.
sisters and I did too. I mean, it was the
No.
hardest thing for me after my divorce. Was the first time I was ever by myself, really, for a
Yeah.
long 10
Well,
years.
I wouldn't take anything for sisters, and I think this book is about some of that too. I mean, my sister is my best friend, my sister, my caretaker, my therapist.
That's
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Thank you for jumping in here. The dog looks like it loves you too. It keeps looking back at you.
I'm Maggie's service animal.
Ah,
Bye, y'all.
bye. Thank you for
Neil.
joining us.
Hi,
That's
Neil.
beautiful home. Beautiful home. Anybody else want to jump in? Kathy, are you there?
I'm here. I'm about to leave and I'm sorry
Okay.
I had to, but I just wanted to say that when I went on Facebook today and found the amazing post, I thought this is a writer.
Oh.
My family used to say, my maiden name's Brown. The Browns are asked directions, so they'll tell you a story instead.
Yeah.
I love that. That's perfect.
And
That's
that's exactly,
really-
I think that's probably what your book is a little bit too. So I
Yeah.
can't wait. And I'm wondering with all that many years, I had the same process, many, many years.
Yeah.
What you decided to take out, and was it difficult?
Oh God. Yeah, because the stuff that has to go is like the best writing.
Right.
But I always like, that's the best thing you've ever written.
Are you gonna use any of it in the second?
Well, I certainly didn't throw anything away. I mean, I've got like another one of those folders with the documents in it of things that came out. And it was really hard. And probably some of that backstory probably should have come out, but I just didn't have the heart to do it. And Laurel didn't make me, so it's like that
I think
worked.
Laurel knew it was
But it is hard. It is
I love
hard.
that story the most of any
I
book.
know, and it's important. But yeah, that was very hard to take some stuff out. But when it got right down to it, I knew that I went back to that side of the brain that's logical. I can't remember which one side it is, but it's like that. I knew that the arc had to happen, and those tangents had to go, and that it had to follow that arc, and that saved me. And I mean, people say, oh, don't outline, don't do this. I outlined and to try to find out where I was, and that helped me too, since it had taken so long, and it was that process to go back and say, okay, this happens, and then this happens, and this to keep Leona and Fern's the things that happened to them kind of going, and to make sure that I didn't get ahead of myself or behind myself or whatever. So I used every trick in the book. I swear to God, if I could find a paint by number thing that would write a novel, I'd use it. I would use it. And I own every how to write book that has ever been written. I mean, I own everything. I don't read them. I just think that if I buy them, that it'll make a difference.
I
Kind of
say,
like
what was your favorite? But if
I like
you
there's
have
this
a
book.
back, I have
I
a back
do.
maybe too for inspiration. Yeah.
Okay, there's a book by Robert Olin Butler.
Oh, from where we dream.
Yes, I think that's one of the best. I think that's just one of the best. He describes that process better than anybody I've ever heard describe that process.
I had
And
a friend that gave it to me as a gift and said, "You're going to like this because this is the way you write." I'm not quite certain. I know what he's talking about sometimes, but I think you will.
right. Oh, I don't either. I mean, I'm with you, but it's like I just feel like that that book is a very important book. I think Stephen King's book is great
Yeah.
on writing. I mean, I think that's a great writing book. But just I don't know. It's just you've got to just trick yourself into being motivated to do it. It's like it's crazy. But
I'm so glad you did.
oh,
And
yeah, and you're doing it.
yeah,
Okay. Okay, good. Good. We're doing it.
all the best. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Bye for now.
Bye. Thanks for coming. Kathy, you're muted. Are you muted?
I lost you for a minute,
There
so I
you
had to come
go.
back on.
There
Can
you
you hear me
go.
now?
Yeah.
I go, is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about of your book? So
We've talked
everybody
about
can-
the small presses. We've talked about the processes. We've talked about the importance of community. I can't think of anything. I just
you love
appreciate.
book clubs. You love book clubs.
I love book clubs. I love book clubs. I hope that I hope I get to see you guys again on a Zoom. And I'm looking forward to your books, and I appreciate you guys so much. And Kathy Murphy, you're the best.
Oh,
I
thank
mean,
you.
I feel like I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming.
I live for Tuesday nights, and I've been without power this summer. I
Oh
had to
Lord.
go to my daughter's for a week and a half, no electricity. All my plugins got fried. I mean, it's just been but I'm here now, and it
You're
keeps going down.
here.
And there's no storm. I can't figure out
Thank
why.
heavens.
Yeah.
Be careful down there.
Oh, it's just, it's going to be this way all summer, rolling blackouts and everything because it's so hot.
Oh,
Yeah, but we're excited. We'll have our girlfriend weekend in January, the 12th through the 14th. And I'm going to now just announce that coming up the rest of this month, next week, we have Valerie Neiman, which is in the Lonely Backwater. I'm really excited about her.
another North Carolina writer.
Yeah, and then the last author of the month is Amy Hill Hirth. She wrote the wonderful story about the two sisters who lived to be 100, the Delaney sisters. She's a new best-selling author and wrote for the newspaper. But Silent Came the Monster is based on a true story of a shark that hit on the East Coast, a shark attack. So this will have everybody. It's a good summertime read. So I had.
Yeah, that's a great cover.
It is. I mean, I really pay attention to covers because being an artist, of course, I want that cover to really jump right out at me like this little emu eyeball here. But I'm going to share with everybody some of the books that I've just received. You're not going to believe it. First of all, my co-host last year was Casey Cowers, who's from Florida. And his book, he worked on this for 30 years. It's Chasing the Queen's Gambit. And this is a story of Walter Tevis, who wrote The Color of Money and The Hustler. And a new movie's coming out called Mockingbird. But Queen's Gambit was one of the Netflix's biggest series, one of my favorite ones a year or so ago. And he documents famous authors in he interviews them, and he's got Horton Foote, just amazing people, Michael
Oh.
Connolly, Jeanette Walls. He really, and I've been working with him for years. So Casey Cower's new book is on our list this year, and you've got to read Chasing the Queen's Gambit. Then I had an author tell me about this book. The author's no longer alive, but I've been painting my daughter's black cat, and they said, have you read Lolly Willows? So I actually ordered this book, and it's got the best cover. So it's an older book, but you know, a good book's a good book, no matter when it's written. Also working on, this is an East Texas author that now lives in Prague, at Czech Republic. Christopher Cook, he's on the Texas Institute of Letters. He's got a short story collection, novellas, Tongues of Fire. He is amazing, and he actually mentored me through my first book. So I can't say enough about Christopher. He'll be on our list. And then you were talking about Daniel Wallace. Here's his book. This is going to end well. It probably has one of the best beginning paragraphs in a book I've ever seen. You do not want to put it down once you start this book. But he's of the true story of a man I thought I knew. He wrote Big Fish, which was made into a film, and he's an awesome storyteller. Then I just got Betty Lee Crosby's latest book, Beyond Betrayal. She's a Pulpwood Queen author, and I've been waiting and waiting for this book because, first of all, the title and great cover, wonderful book, can't wait. And then this is an author that when I first met him, he lived in Spain. This is Boo Walker, and his book is The Stars Don't Lie. What about that cover, y'all? And I can hardly wait. This will also be on our list for this coming year. I've already read it. And here's one I haven't started yet, but going to, Under a Gilded Moon by Joy Jordan Lake. She's an author member, so it's in the stack to read. Fantastic. This is a new book club member, Kristen McDougall, and she's a killer. Do you know her?
No.
But isn't that, well, you know,
Yeah.
you got to have some thrillers in here. So we got that. Here's another beautiful book, kind of reminds me of Kathy Ramsberger, The Stolen Hours. Look at that blue. Karen Swan.
I'm like coveting your book stack.
Oh, listen, I've got so many books that are coming. You can't believe it. Answering the Call, Paris Afton Bonds. She's joined our book club, and it's in the stack to read. And then just today, Annette Gindler, who is one of our book club members, sent me 3 books. Jumping Over Shadows, her memoir.
Oh, man.
How to write compelling stories of family history.
Oh.
We all need this book. And here's the best thing here. I started out in children's book selling. I was a children's bookstore manager and buyer, and Natalie and the Nazi Soldiers. This is going to be one that I'll have to share with my grandson. So that's just the books that have come this week. I mean,
Holy
it's
mackerel.
crazy. And people go, well, how fast do you read? And I go, well, I usually read about 5 books a week or more, but the Water of the Covenant has slowed me down a bit because it's 724 pages. But I read voraciously, and the more you read, the faster you get. And I am so excited you're here. And your knee surgery went well. It went well.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I have one that's kind of given me some trouble, and I'm hoping I don't ever have to have. I heard it's very painful. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do it again. You know what I mean? It's like,
Do you have one?
yeah, and I don't think I should have read up on it a little more. I don't think I realized what I was getting into, because I thought, oh, January, yeah, I'll be good. And it's like, no.
Months.
Good.
Everybody, and then I have an author friend that had both her knees done at the same time.
Oh God, I don't know. I can't imagine that. That just creeps me out.
All I've got to say is you better have round the clock care,
Yeah.
because I had a tumor removed from my knee one time, and the doctor said, oh, you'll be up walking tomorrow. It was like a freight train was going through my leg, and
Yeah,
I'm
it's
allergic to
weird.
medication.
It's a lot.
I was on a walker for a week, and
Yeah.
I went to Rotary Club, and people go, Kathy, what are you doing on a walker? Because I blinged it out. I put like animal print tape on it and lights
Oh
and
my
orchids,
God.
and I come walking in. I said, Hey, at that time, I think I was still in my 50s, but I'm going to be 67 this summer, but nothing's going to slow me down, y'all.
I'll be 67 in August. Yeah,
When's your birthday?
August 1st.
Mine's the 27th.
Okay.
her
Well,
birthday.
we're doing good.
I'm drinking coffee with my leopard glass here. I got my leopard little to-go cup. Well, happy birthday in advance. And book clubs, if
you.
you're listening to this, you can reach her through her website. It's pattymeredith.com, and it's pfmeredith@aol.com for email, or you can always get a hold of her through me. I'll help.
And I
make
will
that-
Zoom with you.
We'll
If I
have
can't
to have
talk
you
to you, I
back.
will Zoom with you.
We'll have to get our puppets out. We'll have to do a puppet show because I have lots of puppets.
Oh my God.
In fact, my youngest daughter for years was being taught ventriloquism. So I have her ventriloquist vents too. The story that sold my book is the story of my friend Joyce, who was a world-class ventriloquist.
Oh,
And
wow.
first time I did her hair was when she got her hair back from chemo.
Oh, honey.
And the last time I did her hair was at her funeral.
Oh,
And
Kathy.
I didn't know what that entailed. And it was such a profound spiritual experience. I had to write about it. And that's what sold my book.
Oh,
And it was
honey.
the first story in my book, and they made it the arc.
Yes.
Amy Einhorn was my editor, and she made it the arc. So
I
you'll
love
have
it.
to read the Pulpwood Queen's Tiara Wearing Book Sharing Guide to Life, because
I have, yes, yes.
it's all about reading and stories. And then the next book will have my lists in it too. So Patti, thank you so much. I'm sorry that it just kept disappearing on me, but I'm so thankful it went okay for you. It's
I
recorded.
just love talking to you. Can we talk? I just want to talk to you more and more and more and more.
I have your number now. I realize it's on this form. So call
Okay.
me anytime.
Well, yeah. And if you
Yeah.
don't have time, I get it, but I just love talking to you.
Are you kidding me? I live in the woods alone with 3 cats. Then when I talk, they go, because I'll go days without saying a word unless somebody talks to me. And then when I get to talking, there's, they don't call me Chatty Cathy for nothing. Remember that doll?
Well, don't you feel like you're kind of an introvert, extrovert too?
I am an introvert. And I
Yeah.
was so painfully shy as a child, I never talked. So now,
That's what Anil was talking about. I wouldn't go to birthday parties. I
Oh,
wouldn't
no.
do any of that stuff.
I would be sitting at the picnic table while everybody's playing games. I just want to be invisible, which is
Yeah.
another book. You're going to have to read Alice Hoffman's The Invisible Hour, because when I read it, I thought,
I haven't read that,
it's a book about us.
honey. Oh
Yeah.
my God. You know what? I think it's at home in my pile, but I haven't read it. But I will dig that out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to be on my reading list too. Alice has been to Girlfriend Weekend. I'd love to get her back, but she is a voracious reading and writing author, and I love everything she writes. So
Okay,
I'm
so
going to be
before we
following your
go,
next book. Are you working?
oh God. Okay, tell me about Cassandra King.
Sandra King. Sandra is Pat Conroy's widow, but she's also a fabulous author.
I read all her books, and I read that memoir that she wrote about her life, and it just killed me.
Well,
That book just killed me.
her family is my book family, and every year at Girl Weekend, I do an author silent auction
Or that.
where all the authors donate something that ties it. You don't have to give an emu, but it's something that ties into their book. And the Pat Conroy Center creates a shopping thing where you can bid on it.
Oh
At
my
the end of
God.
the weekend, whoever gets the highest bid gets that. The author sends the item to the person. But
Oh,
all the money goes to the Pat Conroy Center.
but when I read that memoir she wrote after he died,
Tell me a story.
I just felt like I know her. I mean, that book was so amazing.
Well, I picked her more than Pat Conroy, and Pat Conroy is my favorite author. But her first book,
The Preacher's Wife.
no. Way before. She Making Waves in Zion was
Making waves, yes.
it was about a woman who had
Yes,
inherited her aunt's hair salon home.
yes,
So I heard about it at Mid-South Bookselling Convention. They said, you need to have that author. You have a hair salon bookstore. I go,
yeah.
I do. And every author that used to grace my doors, I give them a makeover before the event.
Oh my God.
Oh, it was so much fun. And she said, Kathy, she goes, I just married an author, a New York Times bestselling author. And I'm doing her hair. I'm going, really? Who did you marry? And she goes, Pat. I go, wait a minute. When did you
What?
marry Pat? I know Pat. And I go, and his agent is, my good friend, Marley Russo.
That's
It was
crazy.
so long ago,
Oh
but
my
I picked every
God.
one of her books. Every one of her books has been a Pulpwood Queen
Oh,
pick. And Pat, came twice to Girlfriend Weekend. It's still legend, the thing. He actually took off his pants at Girlfriend Weekend because I said, you're supposed to donate a personal. He didn't get the memo. He didn't read it.
God.
And he said, well, the only thing I have that's personal is my pants. And so he took them off. Thank God he had on boxers.
That's hilarious.
He signed the rear end of
Oh, fun.
his daughter, Melissa, who I had picked her children. She's an artist like me and a children's book off. And so they signed the pants and they signed their books. And I put it up for auction. It brought $1,000.
Holy mackerel.
And that's when we were helping the Dolly Parton Imagination Library.
Oh,
So, well, then, after Pat died, I took those items and had it shadow boxed.
oh
It
yes.
cost me nearly $1,000 to have that.
Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord.
And I have a library in my house that's all just the Pulpwood Queen books. And I
Oh,
was looking at it one day and he had passed away and we
uh,
were devastated. And I thought, I this needs to be seen by the world, what he did for
yeah.
us. And it was
Yeah.
kind of, so I drove to the Pat Conroy Center and donated it. And it's
Oh my
the
God.
highlights of their tour. But the funny part is the M.L. Malcolm, who was the author, who she's a Washington, D.C. attorney. She bought the pants.
Oh
And
my God.
my Girlfriend Weekend was over. She came, or Saturday night event was over. She came up to me and she said, she gave me a bottle of wine and
Yeah.
she had the pants. And she said, I'm going to give them to you because nobody deserves his pants more than you do.
Oh my God.
And so that whole
Yes.
story is part of the tour if you go to the Pat Conroy Center in Beaufort, South Carolina. And
I
so
didn't know.
if you go there, just say, the Pulpwood Queen says, I'm to see the pants.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've got more things. I donated, Nicole Seitz had drawn a rendition of him, and I had a friend buy me that and gave it to me. And I turned
Oh,
around
that's so great.
back to the center because
Yeah.
I'll be donating lots of things to the center when my day comes, because this is one of the premier literacy promoting centers in the world,
I
not
need to
just
get
the
down
country.
there. Is
Yeah.
Cassandra King still writing? Are we
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
have some more books from her?
Yeah, she's going to have another book pretty soon and we'll have her back. She usually comes every year because she talks about the Pat Conroy Center.
Yeah.
So her and Jonathan Hote, who's the executive director, they'll probably be there. So you'll
Yeah.
get to meet.
But I just think she's amazing. And
Well, you'll love, if you love Lee Smith, you'll love,
yes.
very generous Southern writers and
Lee Smith read South of Heaven, and
Yeah.
Darnell gave it to her. And so, I just said, I don't want, I'm not trying to get a blurb. I'm not trying to do anything. I just want it in her house. And so then Darnell she said, Lee read your book and she really liked it. And then I went to a reading and Lee said, oh, Patty, I read your book and I just loved it. And at that moment, it was like, I'm good. Nothing else has to happen in my life. It's
one of my best friends is author Michael Morris. Do you know him?
yeah, I don't know him, but I know who you're talking about.
Slow Way Home.
Yes.
And in the Blue Moon. He lives in Birmingham, Alabama, and Lee Smith was his mentor. And
Oh,
I can say she's just lovely, lovely author, wonderful books. I
yes.
picked up and I love her. And but you'll get to meet Cassandra, and if you go down there, she lives there. You know,
Oh, Lord.
her next door neighbor was the leader of my Beaufort chapter, and then she stepped down. Now Janet McCauley is. So, and that you should be plan your trip so you can attend the book club meeting there at the center.
I know. That would be so cool.
I'll introduce you to Jonathan. You'll
Um,
love him and tell him
um,
what a big fan you are.
But isn't this the greatest thing? I mean, it's like just the community and the people you meet, and I wouldn't trade the journey for anything. It's like, and it's not the publishing, but it's the journey and the people you meet and the inspiration you have and getting to read their stories,
The best friends that I've ever had in my life have been authors and book club.
Yes.
And they have done so much for me in the 24 years. Every time when I went through the divorce, I was going to college and I ran out of money. They all they paid for my last semester. My
Kathy.
club members and authors paid for me to go. And I graduated magna cum laude, BFA in fine arts, art history. And I've been working for the past 5 years to earn enough money to go back for my master's. And so I'm going to try to do that this fall.
Okay, that's exciting. That's so good. I want to
Well,
meet.
you never stop learning. You never stop learning. You never stop reading. And if people don't believe that the power of reading together and joining the conversation, they need to see this, because I never would have met you.
I know. And it's,
you call me anytime. And if I don't answer, I'm either driving or something like that, but just leave a message and I'll call you back.
Okay, I appreciate it. I want to keep the conversation going.
Let's do. Yeah, I'll connect you with some book clubs down there. And Sherry Staunch has Main Street Reads in Somerville, which is Charleston. She has a chapter there. And I have Charleston Queens and Beaufort Queens and on down into, we were in Amelia Island last year, down into Amelia Island. But and if you see Darnell, you tell her it's time to come back.
Oh, I'm going to see Darnell. She'll be watching this. Hey, Darnell, we're talking about you.
Miss you. It's been too long. I think it was like the early, like 2007, maybe 6. I don't know. It was early 2000.
I believe it's I mean, when you say that doesn't seem that long ago. I mean, but it's like, I can't believe how much time passes.
It's been 50 years since I graduated from high school. My class reunion is coming.
I know. It's
and
crazy.
I thought people that lived for their 50th class reunion were ready, one foot in the grave. And I go, I'm not ready.
I'm not ready. No,
we got
I'm
books.
good.
We got
I
books.
got books to write. Okay. Have you ever heard of salvationsouth.com?
No.
Okay. It's an online journal. It's called salvationsouth.com. And they just put up a story that I wrote that I'm really happy about.
Well, share it. If you said I couldn't find your last post.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
I'll post it.
Okay. And Nell and I got busy. We got busy.
Well, anything you want to post this week, just message me that I reposted it, because I had to change it. I had people posting all week and it just got too much for people because they're trying to.
If I send you something and you're like, good God, no, I get it. I totally understand.
We want the more content, the more people can share. Everybody that's listening out there, if you have a book you want me to read, get it to me now. Because when I go back to school, it's going to be a little different on the reading time, because I'm going to be reading college textbooks and taking classes. So please get me your books. My address is on the author join here page on www.thepulpwoodqueens.com. And I have half the books picked for next year. So you better get them to me quick, because the books that have been coming in, you saw them. They're just fantastic. And I think COVID's kind of pruned down a lot of, it used to be like close to 500,000 books were coming out a year. That's crazy. 500,000 books in the United States. That's not even counting all the ones that I pick out of the country.
Yes. And I love that you do that. That's it. That's so that, I mean, hearing about books that I would have never heard about before.
When you
And I-
read my book, you'll understand. And when you read the sequel, because Pat Conroy told me when I wrote a chapter in Our Prince of Scribes, which was the book dedicated to him, I was asked to write a chapter. He told me, and when I called him, my mother tried to stop publication of my memoir because she said it was all lies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I was never so shocked in my life because I sent her
Right.
an advanced galley and I said, I think you'll understand my story when you read it. Well, it backfired on me big time. So I called him, what do I do? I was just crying.
Oh,
He goes, you know, screw your mom. He didn't quite say it that way. He said, you know, your truth is your own truth. You tell it.
he knew that better than anybody, and he was
He,
right.
and you know, that's why the Lords of Discipline, the great Santini,
Ah,
because I had a 2-time Korean War vet dad who was
oh,
full military, post-traumatic stress
oh
disorder.
my God.
And, you know, and my parents didn't get along. So my dad is gone and my mother is still alive and she's, you know, just, I don't know, you know, she
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yes.
So, but I decided that I was going to tell my truth in a,
Yes.
you know, in a nice way. But people
Right.
to understand if it can help one other person,
Oh, yeah. And it does.
it does.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about what your book did, what Pat Conroy's books did. I mean, it's, yes.
I had too many people tell me, you know, that I had a mom just like yours or a dad just like yours, or,
Yes.
and I didn't, I go, write your story, even if you
Yes.
just do it for yourself. My kids never understood because they never got to know my parents very well
Right.
because we were kind of estranged. Now, in the end, they got to know my dad real well because my dad changed.
Oh,
And but when he died, that was just devastating. So I went back to college and that's what I do when I get into situations that I can't see how I'm going to get through it. I just go back to school.
yeah.
And school to me is like the library. It's like the
Yes.
world is opened up to me.
Oh,
So
going back as an adult, I couldn't have done that MFA program any earlier either. And it was great. I loved being around the young people. I
me too.
loved, you know,
It
that.
keeps you young. It
Oh,
keeps you
it
young.
did.
Look at
Yeah.
that dog. That dog is precious. You know, just stay right there because I've got to take a picture of
She's,
the way this dog is looking at you. Oh my
oh,
God, is my phone dead? Just a second. I'm going to turn it on. But he's kind of doing that sideway eye look.
she's kind of
Oh my.
mom.
Oh, he is so cute. I've got one cat lying here.
And
One
this, Kathy, this
floor.
is how I write. I write with a dog in my lap, you know?
Wrote
It's
my
like,
entire book with a cat
yeah,
on my
I mean, you know, you do what you got to do. It's like if I don't let her up in my lap, then
Oh my God. I got to take a picture. So cute. Well, thank you, Patty. Thank you,
honey,
Laurel.
thank you. And I'll
Everybody.
talk to you soon.
Okay. Call me. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. It's all about the story. I'll have
Bye.
it up on our channel by tomorrow morning.
Okay. Bye. Bye.